But most girls like good physiques, and I haven't found a girl yet in Australia who hated muscles or thought it was gross or anything like that. In some countries ago, people think that if you're a bodybuilder, you're narcissistic.
Number 7. Lou Ferrigno. The bodybuilding world was never the same after the legendary rivalry between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno. The clash between these two icons was captured on film in the classic documentary Pumping Iron and will be remembered forever. The psychological interaction between the cocky king of bodybuilding Arnold and the insecure underdog Lou is what made this rivalry so fascinating. Despite their differences, both Arnold and Lou were similar in many ways. They were both tall, big bodybuilders with similar physiques. Arnold, born in Graz, Austria, started lifting weights as part of his soccer team's training when he was just 15 years old. He was inspired by Mr. Universe Reg Park and decided to give up soccer to focus on bodybuilding. Lou, on the other hand, was inspired by another cinematic Hercules, Steve Reeves. He started lifting weights at a young age and trained hard to look like the superheroes he admired in comic books and Reeves. The two met at the 1969 Mr. Olympia, where Arnold was competing in his first competition. Lou was just 17 years old at the time and was in awe of Arnold's tall, big bodybuilder physique. Arnold went on to win that competition, but Lou was inspired to follow in his footsteps.
To sell it, and if you don't have anybody who can sell it for you or tell the public, it's a waste of time, the whole thing.
In the Battle of the Giants, Lou weighed an enormous 275 pounds for the competition, while Arnold weighed between 230 to 240. The similarities between the two helped to create the hype for this epic showdown, with both having massive arms and a massive chest.
Stepping on a scale or taking a tape measure and measuring your muscles. And there are a lot of preconceptions. Some people even think that if you are involved in your body, that...
Misconceptions aside, the bodybuilder is, like the long-distance runner, a loner.
Number 6. Sergio Oliva. The bodybuilding world was in awe of Sergio Oliva. The Cuban native had won 3 Mr. Olympia titles, defeating Arnold Schwarzenegger on stage. But Oliva's path to greatness wasn't without its share of hardship. In 1969, Oliva was at the peak of his career. He was the clear champion, and Arnold was struggling to keep up. However, within 2 years, everything changed. In 1970, Arnold won his first Mr. Olympia title, the beginning of his legend, but for Oliva, it was the start of his downfall. Fuming from his second-place finish, Oliva claimed that the Weeders rigged the contest for Arnold. He later claimed that he was beaten by the judges and the Joe Weider IFBB organization, not by Arnold. Whether Oliva was right or not is hard to know, but it's clear that the 1971 Olympia promised to be the most exciting in the sport. However, before the 1971 Olympia, Oliva competed at the Mr. Universe competition, where he finished second to Bill Pearl. Some saw the loss as an outright fix, and Oliva claimed institutional racism and criticized the organizers. The 1971 Universe forced Oliva out of the 1971 Mr. Olympia. Under Olympia rules, competitors were forbidden from competing in rival shows. Oliva was banned from the Olympia, but he was allowed to guest pose. In 1972, people got the matchup they had been waiting for, Arnold versus Sergio. Arnold scored 5 first-place votes among the judges, dispelling any suggestions that he wasn't Olympia-worthy. Oliva wasn't happy, and recalled the constant rule changes he encountered with the Weeders. Tired of internal politics, Oliva left the IFBB for the newly created World Bodybuilding Guild. The problem was that the 1970s were the decade of Arnold, especially after the release of Pumping Iron in 1977. Oliva racked up multiple WBBG Mr. Olympus titles throughout the rest of the decade, but Arnold was the superstar of the sport. Number 5. Mike Mentzer. The world of bodybuilding has seen its fair share of between the two has gone down in history as one of the biggest and most controversial in the sport's history. Tom Platz, a former bodybuilder, once revealed what really happened between the two that fateful day. According to Platz, the incident had a lasting effect on Mentzer. Although they eventually became friends, Platz believed that the grudge Mentzer held onto poisoned his mind and body and ultimately led to his untimely demise in 2001. In a 1993 interview, Mentzer recounted the scene and admitted that he let Schwarzenegger's condescending tone get the best of him. However, Mentzer claimed that by charging at Schwarzenegger, he had successfully scared the Terminator. Nonetheless, the feud proved to be the final straw for Mentzer and pushed him to leave the competitive bodybuilding world behind. It wasn't until years later that Arnold and Mentzer were able to settle their differences. The feud had taken its toll on Menser, and his anger was apparent in many of his interviews. Number 4. Franco Columbu. Franco Columbu, a two-time Mr. Olympia, was not only a successful bodybuilder and actor, but he was also Arnold's best friend for over 5 decades. Their friendship began in the 1960s, when they were fierce rivals in bodybuilding competitions in Germany. However, they later teamed up and worked together as bricklayers in the U.S., following the advice of Canadian bodybuilder Joe Weider. They went on to star in several films together, including The Terminator, Conan the Barbarian, and The Running Man.
Conglomerate unto himself.
Through bodybuilding, I did a lot of things, I got into the films. I did 3 films so far.
Who was Arnold's best man at his wedding to Maria Shriver and the godfather of their daughter, Christina. When Columbu passed away, Schwarzenegger paid tribute to his dear friend on social media, describing him as his best friend and partner in crime. Their friendship also came under scrutiny during Schwarzenegger's run for governor of California. The Democratic rivals questioned whether the two had worked illegally when they first arrived in the U.S., running a bricklaying business called European Brickworks in 1969. Schwarzenegger denied the accusations, and their friendship remained unbreakable until Columbu's passing. Number 3. Ken Waller. Ken Waller and Arnold Schwarzenegger had a complex relationship that was both competitive and friendly at times. They were both prominent bodybuilders during the 1970s and competed against each other in several major contests. Their rivalry started in 1975 at the Mr. Olympia contest, where Arnold narrowly defeated Ken. According to Ken, Arnold was intimidated by his size and posing ability, and he had to resort to mind games to beat him. However, Arnold denied this and claimed that he had nothing but respect for Ken. Despite their competitive rivalry, Ken and Arnold were good friends and trained together frequently. They also appeared in the bodybuilding documentary Pumping Iron Together, which showcased their training and preparations for the Mr. Olympia contest. In the documentary, Ken is portrayed as a rival to Arnold's mentee, Mike Katz. This created some tension between Arnold and Ken during the film's production, but it's unclear how much of that was genuine animosity or just part of the movie's storyline. After retiring from bodybuilding, Ken continued to work in the fitness industry and became a successful businessman. He also remained friends with Arnold and supported his political career, contributing to his campaigns and even attending his wedding. Number 2. Frank Zane. Frank Zane is a 3-time Mr. Olympia winner who, in an interview with Laura McGlashan, MFA CPT, shared his experiences of training and hanging out with Arnold. The two first met at the 1968 Mr. Universe competition, where Zane beat Schwarzenegger, becoming one of the only people ever to do so. They later trained together at Gold's in Venice, where they would eat, sleep, train, and repeat. Zane, along with Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu, and Dave Draper, formed a circle of serious competitive gym-goers who trained together, and Zane even moved to California to be closer to them. They trained together for the NABA Mr. Universe in London, where they followed a grueling high-intensity volume training system with a 3-way split routine 6 days a week. They learned from each other, with Arnold teaching Zane how to get a biceps peak by supinating his wrist as he curled the weight, and Zane showed Arnold how to develop his triceps. They even practiced posing together, with Arnold coaching Zane in incredible detail that could make or break a routine. They were great friends, hanging out socially all the time, going to Tijuana, practicing archery, and even living together for 2 weeks at Arnold's apartment. Number 1. Boyer Coe. Boyer Coe and Arnold Schwarzenegger were both professional bodybuilders who competed against each other during the 1970s. They had a competitive and friendly relationship that was marked by their mutual respect for each other's talents. Coe and Schwarzenegger first met in 1969, and they quickly became friends. They trained together at Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, California, and often socialized outside of the gym as well. Despite their friendship, they were also fierce competitors who pushed each other to be their best. Their rivalry was at its peak during the 1970 Mr. Olympia competition, where they both competed for the title of the world's best bodybuilder. Arnold won the competition, and Coe placed 5th. Coe went on to compete in several more Mr. Olympia competitions, but he never won the title. In fact, Coe was one of the people who helped Schwarzenegger transition into his acting career. Coe introduced Schwarzenegger to the producers of Pumping Iron, a documentary film about the world of professional bodybuilding. The film helped launch Schwarzenegger's career as an actor and helped bring the sport of bodybuilding into the mainstream. That's all for today, folks. See you next time.